Did you know that the hamburger was invented 200 years before the Mayflower arrived in North America? Well, not this one. This is a modern hamburger. But back then, they didn't have things like burger buns or sesame seeds, or even cheese for that matter. In fact, the original hamburger was a lot closer to this, a big juicy meatball. You see, the hamburger evolved from a German dish called Hamburg steak. In the 18th century, sailors would bring home cured beef from their travels to Hamburg. They'd then chop it up and mix it with onions and spices, and then flatten it out into a single sheet and fry it up in its own juices. They called it a hamburger steak. And by the way, it had nothing to do with hamburgers. That part comes later. Anyway, this dish was hearty and cheap and easy to make, so it became a hit among working men. But it wasn't until the 19th century that things started to change. See, up until then, people ate Hamburg steaks with a knife and fork. But in 1830, someone had the genius idea of cutting the steak into smaller pieces and serving it over a bed of rice. Fuela, a hamburger. Now, some historians argue that the true birthplace of the hamburger is actually here, not Germany, but a small town in Connecticut called New Haven, you see? In 1860, an African-American chef named August Jackson created a dish he called a hamburger steak. It consisted of a brothy beef patty served between two slices of bread with chopped onions and pickles. Sounds pretty close to what we're used to today, doesn't it? But the question still remains, where did the name hamburger come from?
Oh well.
There are two theories. The first one traces the word hamburger all the way back to the Middle Ages. Back then, butchers would often add sawdust to their ground beef to stretch it out and make more burgers, literally. And because Hamburg was the biggest port city in northern Germany, the butchers would sometimes refer to these sawdust burgers as Hamburg steaks. The other theory is a lot more simple. It just says that the dish was called a hamburger steak, because it was a steak from Hamburg. Personally, I like that one better. So there you have it, the surprisingly ancient history of the hamburger. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go grab a bite to eat.